In a previous video, I talked about how World War II really brings to life this civil rights movement that'll ultimately be successful in getting a lot of advancements done, right? It's under Eisenhower that things really pick up. Now, is this because of the fact that he's some civil rights champion? No, it's not. In fact, when he appoints the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, a man named Earl Warren, who was the former governor of California, he probably had the slightest clue of what he's going to do. So one of the things that Warren does is he hears a case known as Brown versus Board of Education. And this happens in 1954. And basically, in this court, it says that segregation was unconstitutional. You remember back in 1896 when we talked about Plessy versus Ferguson saying that separate but equal was constitutional? Well, now the court is reversing itself. It's saying it's separate but equal is actually unconstitutional. Because whenever you separate people on the basis of their ethnicity or their skin color, you already are saying that somebody is superior to another. Picture it this way. I got 2 bags of candy. I borrowed them from the bookstore. Believe me, it took about 5 minutes of convincing I wasn't going to eat these. But nevertheless, I got 2 bags of candy. I got Skittles and I have M&Ms. Now, I don't know how you eat your Skittles. But the way I eat my Skittles is I take all the different flavors. See, look at those flavors, right? You got lemon, you got green apple, which is one of my favorites. You got grape, strawberry, and orange, right? So I separate all the Skittles according to their colors, and I eat them all, obviously, but I eat them according to what I like most. Oh, sorry, what I like least to most, right? So I start with the lemon, the orange, and then it's like basically a 3-way tie. So in terms of the strawberry, the grape, or the green apple. But see what I'm getting at? I'm separating the colors, right? According not just to color, but also to flavor, right? And so what am I saying? I'm saying that I'm preferring one flavor over another, right? Which means that one flavor is not equal to another. Now, this is what Plessy versus Ferguson wants you to think. That, they're all Skittles, and they're all different colors, but as long as you separate them and you somehow equally treat them, it's fine. Brown versus Board says no, it should be this, M&Ms. I cannot detect a different flavor from a yellow, an orange, if they still have orange, brown, blue, green. I can't detect different flavors. Now, some people say, "Oh, I can." No, you can't. You're like those people that drink a glass of wine. I can taste apples. It's grape juice, dude. How can you taste apple and grape juice? But whatever, that's fine. So but nevertheless, these are the same color. They're the same in terms of flavor, right? So you don't separate them. I've never seen anybody eat a bag of M&Ms that separate the greens and the reds and the blues, right? I do that with Skittles. I don't do that with my M&Ms. So that's exactly what Brown versus Board of Education is doing. It's telling you that this bag of M&Ms is constitutional. Let me get this right. It's constitutional. Why? Because it's all treated the same. Skittles, unconstitutional. No. Am I saying boycott Skittles? Hell no. Go ahead. Go ahead and discriminate against orange flavored stuff. That's fine by anybody, right? It's so unimportant, right? Eat your Skittles the way you want to eat your Skittles. This is how I do it. So that's what the Brown versus Board of Education is doing. But before we leave it, I want to mention one thing. Remember when we were talking about W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington and how they're going to approach getting black civil rights back, right? Who's the one that said use the courts? Oh, that's W.E.B. Du Bois. And guess what? The court, this is the approach that works because they use the courts. The NAACP, which W.E.B. Du Bois was a founding member of, right, is going to have a lawyer. His name was Thurgood Marshall, and he's going to argue Brown versus Board in front of the Supreme Court. And later on, Lyndon B. Johnson is actually going to nominate him to the Supreme Court, becoming the first African American. Now, does this mean that suddenly the Supreme Court says segregation is unconstitutional, therefore it's going to go away? Heavens no. It's not, okay? In fact, a lot of states are going to actually put up a lot of barriers against racially integrating the schools. We see that under Eisenhower. We see that under Kennedy, right? Just because the Supreme Court says something doesn't necessarily make it so. In the people with these opinions, right? So it's going to take a lot more effort to get segregation finally killed off. In fact, it's going to take 10 years after the Brown versus Board education decision to actually make a dent in the segregation, in the campaign, of segregation. But it all starts in the 1950s, in 1954 specifically, in the form of Brown versus Board of Education.